Hey everybody, good morning, good morning. Happy afternoon, happy evening, happy time zone to you. Today is another busy day. Every day is a busy day, it feels like. Today is going to be great. This morning we are filming some underrated videos, underrated video game sort of discussions based around OSTs. Taking a sample of like one track from each of these games. This will be a bit more involved with a little bit more stopping and starting. It won't be your traditional filming where it's just kind of boom, 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 boom. Just because I want to make sure that when I talk about the game, obviously I need to make sure I know what the game is about. So I'm really excited to dive into this. That's an ongoing series, and each video will be five games long, basically. Then after that, depending on how long that will take, I mean, we have until 2 o'clock. We'll be doing some Zelda listening through, which I have a set list already set. And then after that, at 2 o'clock today, which is in 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, about 4 hours, we'll be diving into the best. It says the best of Fire Emblem Three Houses, but it's actually the best of Fire Emblem. A generous patron decided to hop into one of the highest tiers I have, and decided to make a playlist of about I think it's about 60 to 70 to 90 songs of just some of the best songs from Fire Emblem to the series. So I'm really looking forward to it. Have a great time at your job interview. That's amazing. I hope it goes really well. Good night, Juan. So a very chill morning this morning, just filming some videos, and if you're watching the VOD of this, hello, hope you're doing great. So let's just kind of dive in because we want to make sure that we have enough time for everything. So in this underrated video game song series, today's filming of this is going to be pretty interesting. It's going to be Nine Souls, Chants of Sennaar, Soul Reaver 1, Child of Light, and Scarlet Nexus. That's going to be the first 5 games. Hi, Crispy. Well, technically you're watching the live video, but yes. So we're going to be looking at those. This list is pretty ongoing, and will basically not stop. I feel like underrated songs are really important. Underrated games are really important. We shouldn't just focus on what's trending or what's popular. And this kind of format will be very fun and interesting because there's just so many games that are underappreciated. Hey, Nervous, what's up? So, okay. I think that's the game plan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5. We need one more track from Scarlet Nexus. Does anybody have a track from Scarlet Nexus they really like? I know, Juan, you've actually sent me a track from Scarlet Nexus, so I've heard that one, that beautiful piano piece that really sticks to mind. But does anybody in the chat have a song from Scarlet Nexus that they really like? I'll add it to the sheet here. Hi, Poison. Luna. Oh, boy. Luna. Take your time. I have other stuff I'm looking up anyway. Just continue to post on the community tab. The community tab post that I made yesterday night, actually. So it's fairly recent. 2 million is pretty underrated. Well, no one like talks about Scarlet Nexus. So it's an ongoing list, so it'll be updated fairly frequently. Mizuhawa Mizuhagawa district. Okay. I'll throw that in there then for that one. Why did you tag yourself? Only you can know. Okay, yeah. Juan, is this a loop? Looks like no. It's fucking long. 8 minutes. It's fine. Oh, okay. So we got that track. And then I wanted to grab... Okay, so we're doing Child of Light. I just want to grab like the quick Wikipedia blurb, you know? Or the Steam blurb. Perfect. Yeah. Okay. And then Scarlet Nexus. Have I done Vögel im Kaffee? No, I don't think I have actually. I don't think I have. I don't think I have. Okay. All right, got that. Yep. Okay. Ooh. You know what I just realized? Child of Light is a Ubisoft. Well, maybe they won't. I'll do this, and then in case it doesn't work, I'll grab one more. So okay, so just because Ubisoft tends to copyright claim, and I really don't want that. So let's see. We'll do. All right. So next up, that was also an option was Aeternus Noctis, which is not a Final Fantasy game. No, it's not. Okay, Eterna Noctis. Okay. What's a good OST from Eterna Noctis? They claim... Ubisoft Music claims everything. They're a pain in my ass. Yeah, let's do this one. That sounds nice. The Trial of the Kings. Okay. Ooh, The Doomed Knight. No, we'll do that one, actually. That sounds fun. All right, we'll do The Doomed Knight from Eterna Noctis. Okay. Eterna Noctis. Okay. All right. All right, 9 souls. Okay. Taoist, Tao Punk. Well, that's cool. Okay. All right. Okay, chat, are you ready? Yeah, but because it's... No, I agree. It's Cœur de Pirate. But the problem is that because it's under Ubisoft's umbrella, Ubisoft Music will then take that and potentially copyright claim it. So just to be safe, I'm going to just add another option for myself just to be safe about it. You know what I mean? Because I wouldn't want it... If it's a 5 game video, only doing 4 just feels like a disservice. And, you know, all right, you're ready. Okay, I'm ready too. I gotta wake up. I've been playing Kingdom Come Deliverance this morning. Or no. Yeah. Oh, it still said Sonic Unleashed on Twitch. Oh, God, that's so annoying. That video's unlisted right now. Okay. Introduction. So, let's see. Also, thanks for hanging out. It's always fun to record these live, although I'm a little bit slow this morning, so my brain is not functioning as highly as it normally would, so there's a lot of, like, dead air. Let's see. Underrated songs, underrated games. It's always fun, like, coming up with something on the spot, which is, theoretically, you're not supposed to do this, but I've always felt that being off the cuff is always the most productive I usually am. Let's see. The games industry seems to be moving a mile a minute with constant releases every single month, and naturally, some games get left by the wayside. Today I want to take a look at 5 underrated games and one song from each of these games, talk about the game, talk about the song, and just try to give some underrated games some real attention. Here we go. Thanks, gamer. First up is Nine Souls, a game that many people feel was snubbed from the game of the... First up is Nine Souls. Nine Souls is a game that a lot of people felt was snubbed at the Game of the Year Awards in 2024, and for pretty good reason. Nine Souls is a super lore-rich, hand-drawn 2D action platform, Sekiro-inspired, deflection-focused combat game. The devs call it a towel punk style. It's got incredible music, incredible art design, incredible 2D movement. It's a great game, and it definitely, even though it's popular, it definitely feels like it's pretty underrated when it comes to Souls-likes and when it comes to, well, I suppose this is also a bit of a Metroidvania. Anyway, it's a little bit of both. Let's check out some of the music from Nine Souls. Today we're going to listen... No, that's a terrible introduction. Let's check out The Path for Us All from Nine Souls and explore it a little bit together. Wow. Man, those strings. Wow. That feels like a really good place to stop, and I'll try to stop about at max 3 times during this song, because I know that all of us want to also feel the movement of the piece while also analyzing it as well, on my perspective. So, really stunning introduction, isn't it? I mean, I think, like, what I really have enjoyed about the Nine Souls soundtrack is the fact that it borrows a lot of elements that feel very folk-like in their nature. They feel very, very honest, very real, based on, like a lived person's experience. But on top of that, what makes it fun is that it feels like it's flipped on its head a little bit, and so the script is shifted ever so slightly. Now what that essentially does is it creates a feeling of knowing, but it also creates a feeling of unknowing. And I think that what that does is it creates a sense of tension for us as listeners, because we've heard this kind of chant before. But the difference here is that when we have especially in the beginning here, take a listen to this. So what we end up with is a and so even though we know like that's just a simple sort of melodic gesture, just going up in the scale, going back down in the scale, what we end up experiencing there with that sort of bleat sound in it and that little bit of distortion is actually a sense of tension and a sense of stress, right? It's a very interesting thing. And actually this particular style of vibrato, funny enough, also appears in classical music, in Monteverdi operas, where the way that we would sing in those particular sections would be to sing the phrase ah, and then speed up the vibrato. Not exactly the same, but it does make my brain tickle a little bit. Also, as we move into the next sort of minute or so of this piece, it's terrific how then we start to add the strings, and then there's this very strong male choral presence underneath, and that strong male choral presence does a few different things. It creates more tension, it creates a feeling of fear, and it makes us feel like we're looking at the embodiment of a god. And that coupled with the raw kind of brutality of that female white-voiced style singing really leaves us with a sense of, I guess, a bewilderment, or certainly a sense of fear and tension. It's very powerful and really, really just incredibly impressive, because then at 40 seconds, right where I stopped, we also get the string section in there, and the strings are really laid out, really sort of kind of tenuto. They're kind of sustaining. Tenuto means to hold. The tenere is to hold, so there's a holding quality in those strings, and that also just gives space for the chant and the male chorus underneath as well to really overtake our senses and our emotions. It's very, very, very smart writing there, because the strings, not only is that a sound that we're also fairly familiar with, but the sustaining of those strings, coupled with some of the movement that's occurring, although they're also legato as well and sustaining as well, the chant does add a bit of, again, it's all about tension. So let's keep going. Wow. Wow. Bum, 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 bum. Repeated pattern there. In reality, that's it's hard not to stop, because wow, there's some like really delicious musical things happening in there that are just absolutely divine. I think first of all, the Buddhist, I don't know what religious chant that is, but it definitely has a quality of that type of chant where, you know, the chant feels so metaphysical. And I think like this fight, or Yi's theme, the path for us all. I'm not really sure who Yi is. Obviously, I've only played the first like couple hours of this game, but there's a metaphysical quality that then pervades us when we listen to the chant like that. Now on top of that, what's also really cool is that we're also getting a male choir sort of bolstering that sound again, and ultimately we have to think that like when we're composing, inevitably there are certain parts that need to be lifted and highlighted, and basically like a lot of the stuff that's around a certain section is there to buoy and bolster up a specific part that the composer wants you to pay attention to. In that particular case, it's interesting because we still get the strings, and the strings kind of have this very melodic, flowing quality to them as they invite heroicism, but on top of that, the Buddhist chant in there, I think, implies dedication, forthrightness, commitment, forward momentum as well, responsibility, duty, honor, all those other things. And then on top of that, we also have the male choir underneath as well, which is, I think, again, there's a masculinity, a virility, a confidence in that sound. And then here, again, with the sopranos coming in, it's a little bit more desperate sounding. And now it feels like, even though the strings really launch up into this heroic sense of victory, but it does feel like there's conflicting emotions and thoughts that occur throughout this piece. And yeah, I'm just really, really impressed by how moving it is. And it's a very visceral kind of reaction where naturally I feel the sense of accomplishment, or the sense to accomplish things in general. And what a great piece. I'll let the rest of the song play out and then give some final thoughts at the end. Oh, that's not the harp, but the... Wow. Yada, yada. Terrific. I mean, the throat singing there is... Da, 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 da. It's a natural crescendo there. Da, 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 da. Wow. Wow, I mean, what an ending, right? I mean, there's such a terrific sense of drive there the whole time, and really, if you think about it, the strings in the male and the males and the male choir and the sort of chant that's occurring, it's all kind of repetitive patterns, but each of those individual elements are cohesive when telling a story of that forward momentum and that sense of purpose and responsibility that comes through it. And it's interesting too how each three of those, well, and including the soprano soloists when they come back in that we hear at the beginning, all four of those elements are repeating in their own lanes, but then when you combine them, they just work. And they kind of coalesce into this one cohesive unit, despite having four variable moving parts. And I find that terrific because each of those have a different rhythm and a different style, and there is some doubling in there as well. But really, the string section really just like lifts this thing off the pages, and then with the chant as well, and the throat singing is just, I mean, divine. Coupled with the with the terrific male choir that sort of plays in direct opposition to the female choir. I mean, there's what's not to love. And, you know, Nine Souls is a game that I do hear talked about a lot, but it certainly does feel underrated in the sense that it doesn't necessarily have as broad a mainstream appeal as obviously like the FromSoft games do, or other difficult Souls likes. And I think it's a shame because what I've seen of this game, it's an artistic and creative spiritual journey that I think would probably be enjoyed by many people. So if you haven't checked it out, I definitely would suggest adding it to your list. Okay. What's up? What's up, Hunter? Okay, so that was 9 Souls. Really cool stuff. Holy crap. I had not heard that piece before. I'd heard other pieces, but that one really blew me away. Really cool stuff. All right, so 9 Souls is done. Then we're going to hop down over to Chants of Sennar. 7 minutes long piece. I'll stop 3 times just throughout the thing. Okay. I just need to I need to move at a quick pace. Normally I would chat with you all more, but I see all of you. I don't think we need to like get hyper focused on the differences between Buddhism and Taoism. Like, yes, they're different, but they're also similar. Like, I think it's an interesting conversation for sure, but we don't have to lose too much focus on that, I think. All right, let's not to say you can't talk about it, but just keep in mind that let's be balanced. Gameplay mostly involves solving puzzles and mini-games. Good morning. Which generally require decoding and understanding the fictional languages of the tower. It also features occasional sections of stealth gameplay. The plot is inspired by the Tower of Babel myth, and the player translates between various different tribes that do not understand each other. Wow. That's cool. All right. How do I want to word this? Chants of Sennar is a game that came out in 2023, and it follows basically the myth of the Tower of Babel. It's inspired by the Tower of Babel myth, and the player basically goes through and translates, is sort of the go-between between various tribes that don't understand each other. And based on what Steam says, you play as a traveler on a quest to reunite the people of the tower, observe, listen, and you decipher ancient languages in a fascinating universe inspired by the myth of Babel, which is essentially what I mentioned. It's got a gorgeous art style, seems really, really intriguing, and if you're a fan of language in general or puzzles, I would assume that this would be a terrific game. It's been on my radar for a long time because I'm actually a huge lover of language, speaking 3 of them myself. I just haven't gotten around to being able to play it just yet. We're going to be checking out Gardens of Plenty from Chants of Sennar. Speaking of throat singing. Wow. Yes, yeah. So this is very interesting to me because as we continue on in this piece, and we're about a minute and 30 in, one of the things that's kind of coming to mind is the fact that we do, again, kind of similarly to the Nine Souls track, we actually have, I think, that concept of many different languages that don't necessarily understand each other, but also like move in the same rhythm and pace. We're getting that quite a bit here with the guitar-like instruments. I know that's not what they are. I don't know the official names of these instruments, but what I find kind of interesting is the fact that we'll have one do a specific kind of gesture, the lower sounding one in the lower range, and then we hear the same rhythmic identity in the higher placement, the higher second of these guitar-like instruments, right? And I find it also very cool how we're using throat singing again in that sort of multi-tonal, multi-chord throat thing that's possible with some folks, where they can manipulate and create essentially chords within their throats. I know it's more complicated than that. Just bear with me there. I think it's so cool that that's the underbelly of this whole piece, right? While on top of that, we're starting to add the clash of language that occurs, even though people are kind of saying the same thing. They're saying it with different instruments or different ranges, and that's sort of something that comes to mind when I'm listening to this, is that there is this, first of all, this sense of placid peacefulness while trying to communicate and understand each other. And on top of that, what I really appreciate about this piece is how organic it sounds, how natural it sounds, and I think that that's to its service, because I think a game like this, and certainly if we look at language and think about language itself, language is such an important part of humanity, expression, being able to communicate, so on and so forth, whatever kind of language it may be. And having a natural quality in the instruments, I think, allows for this to naturally translate to the concept of the game in a really big way. It feels organic, it feels human, it feels authentic, and it feels, more than anything, it feels real, and it feels palpable, and it allows us to step into the shoes of this world that we're in and be like, okay, yeah, everyone's having a hard time communicating. Let me try to be this intermediary and help this group of people. And I think that that's kind of coming through. Whoa. You see there too, some interesting doubling in there. There too. Notice how the certain of these, yeah, it's a cool little thing. I don't want to stop too much, but I think it's worth pointing out that there is a bunch of doubling or spacing out within rhythm structures that are allowing the flute and the string and the like guitar-like instrument to merge together, or to have the same idea but separate. And I think that's something really worth paying attention to. I love this, especially this drum as the sort of the thing that's keeping it tied together. See, similar. Oh, wow. Oh. Wow, it's just 3 notes. I mean, a little detail that I noticed right away. I mean, first of all, again, the real raw naturalness of that vocal quality, no vibrato, nothing. It's very airy, very breathy. The male singers in there are kind of supporting the soprano singers, which makes sense. The lower voice kind of bolstering and boosting the higher voice. That's something extremely common in musical writing. But one of the most interesting things to me here is that we had the first 3 minutes of this piece were predominantly instrument based, and there was like miscommunications and communication happening, and sometimes the same motif, sometimes the same motif at different times, sometimes in unison, sometimes separately, sort of the conversation around miscommunication, it feels like. And then suddenly the voices kicked in. You notice what happened? The instruments actually pulled all the way back, and they became accompaniments to the to the voices. And this is something that is very common, especially in singing music, of course, where when the vocal comes in, the vocal becomes the forefront of the piece. And in this particular case, given the loose basic understanding of the plot premise and what the purpose of the player is in this particular game, it feels like the unified movement of the voices and the male singers supporting the soprano singers, that feels like a unification of coming together of like-minded individuals and like-minded ideas, or trying to unite fractured people based on their language and their inability to communicate within each other, right? And so it's cool how once the singers come in, what we actually end up doing is dropping out the instrumentation, where now we're getting a little bit of an accent with that, again, that guitar-like instrument, which, forgive me, I don't know the name of. There's a little bit of an accent there, a little bit of like a moment where it plays or what have you. But in general, what's actually occurring in this situation is the voices are being given the platform to communicate. And I find that very, very cool. And now we revert back because now the singing is not there, right? Wow. And that feels like unifying. It feels like coming together. Yeah. Moving at the same time. Some dissonance. Sort of trailing off there. Now super unison movement. Oh, wow, that's cool. Man, terrific dissonance there. Yada. Gorgeous lower voice there, punching through that choir. Almost a cappella, almost solo. Oh, almost a major resolution there. Ooh, and it ends up with a little bit of crunch. You know, it's a really fascinating piece. And I will say that in truth, this is a piece that is unsexy, right? And what does that mean? Well, unsexy means that it's a piece that people are going to be like, oh man, you got to listen to this. But like, if you take the time to listen to a piece like that, you can actually have like a real emotional experience with it, a real journey. I think that we get caught up and obsessed with like, you know, the sort of powerhouse pieces, the things that like are memorable and what have you. But ultimately a piece like that can actually, if you really let it like sort of seep into you and really listen to it, it can actually take you on a journey that sometimes these more popular pieces, which are still good and deserve plenty of merit, are not. It can take you on a journey that those pieces sometimes can't. And I think in the case of Chants of Sennaar, Gardens of Plenty, that's very much the case. I mean, it's a divine piece, almost a religious experience by the middle end of it, especially when the choir comes back in fuller form. There's a lot of subtle dynamic things that are occurring here that I find really interesting. And it's one of those pieces that you can really allow your imagination to kind of run wild for. And, you know, yeah, I think that Chants of Sennaar, if people have played it, there's a reason why it's overwhelmingly positive on Steam, with, you know, over nearly almost 20,000 reviews at this point. It's a game that clearly has a lot of love, passion, and an emotion poured into it, and it should be celebrated. And I know it's an award-winning puzzle adventure to begin with, and it has won awards. But yeah, I just felt like it was important to highlight how meaningful this kind of the way that music can convey conflict and emotion and conversation is fascinating to me. And yeah, I'm glad that we got to feature it on this episode. Good morning. What's up? Hey, everybody. Just in case you're hopping in for the first time, I'm not ignoring you. I just am in the middle of filming. Mondays are my filming days. So we're filming an underrated video games / their music video currently. In a little bit, in the next probably 4 songs, we'll hop over to Zelda. I have a playlist of a bunch of Zelda's greatest hits, and bearing time and everything, we will absolutely be exploring as much as we can of that. Between 2 and 3 o'clock, I'll be switching over to a live stream of the best Fire Emblem tracks. So I want to make sure I have ample time to do that. Whether it's at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, I'll probably take a 15-20 minute break and hop over to that live stream. So thanks for hanging out. And if I'm just not responsive to the chat, that's predominantly why. All right, Soul Reaver. Legacy of Kain. Well, it's not too late. It's constantly being updated, so you can just go and post whatever underrated game that you like on there. We have a list of 30, and it's just going to be ongoing because it's important to talk about these games. So I don't want it to just be like a one-time thing. So feel free to go and post if you feel. The community post is on YouTube, and definitely feel free to post. That will stay up indefinitely. So, and I'll probably do a repeat of it at some point. So. Good, I'm glad you're enjoying it. Thank you, Kremen. That's the community post there, Sebastian. The Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver, and Soul Reaver in general, I think, is absolutely one of these cult classic games that people carry with them with nostalgia. Obviously, we just currently and recently had a remastered version of it that came to PC and modern day consoles. This particular Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver takes place 1500 years after the events of Blood Omen, which is a game that talks about Kain. Soul Reaver chronicles the journey of the vampire turned wraith Raziel, lieutenant to the vampire lord Kain. No, that's not how we do that. Actually, Soul Reaver chronicles the journey of the vampire. No, I don't want to read it word for word from Wikipedia. Soul Reaver basically takes place Soul Reaver is the story of the vampire turned wraith Raziel, who is the lieutenant to the vampire lord Kain. Blood Omen actually takes place 1500 years prior to the Soul Reaver games, and that story is all about Kain. In this particular case, most of these games, I think all of these games, follow the story of Raziel, and one of the most iconic sort of PlayStation, I guess, mascots, if you will. Not quite as iconic as Crash Bandicoot, but yeah. This particular track, and I guess in truth, I don't really hear people talk a lot about Legacy of Kain, but the people that love the Legacy of Kain love it. I don't really think that I'm one of those people, but I definitely look on the Legacy of Kain or Blood Omen pretty fondly. So this is Ozar Midrashim. Ozar Midrashim from Soul Reaver 1. Let's check it out and talk about it. Oh. Crazy tension in here. You know, there's something to be said for I don't know that I would call this musical violence, but it's alarming, and I think part of that's because of these big chords when we start. There's quite a bit of dissonance in that. That really leaves you like, holy crap, what happened, right? And even all of this, it's almost it borders on ambience, and it borders on ambient tension, especially with the wow, I didn't realize that I was going to be beatboxing today. Holy crap. All that to say, the laden tension in here feels very violent. There's drama, tension, and concern in this music, and it feels like something has gone terribly wrong. But I guess when you're dealing with wraiths and vampires and all those things in between, that's only natural, right? Let's keep going. Now we have a kind of repetitive beat pattern there, so we can, wow, lock in a little bit. Don't you find it fascinating? Don't you find it fascinating that you can't actually necessarily pinpoint what's going on? Like there is a beat at this point, and the beat is helping us kind of maintain a sense of rhythm and also a sense of like grasping on to the maybe not necessarily the emotional context, but the musical pacing of this piece. And yet, what ends up happening here is we're still mixed. It feels like we're in mixed meter. Which essentially means that like the rhythm is doing what that means is that the rhythm is doing one thing, while the that's doing something else. And so we end up having this kind of in laden clash, which I find really interesting. Pieces like this are hard because when something feels disjointed in this way, where it doesn't feel like you can latch onto it really easily with the standard protocols of meter and rhythm and tempo and what have you, that's on purpose, though, when a composer deviates from that, because that's predictable, right? It's predictable that something is going to be in a rhythmic pattern that one can pay attention to. But the minute that a composer says, you know what, I'm going to take that rhythm and I'm going to add this to it and create polyrhythm and what have you, then naturally we're like, what the, I can't follow this. Like, this is stressful for me as a listener, right? And that's the intention, because whatever is occurring, whoever Ozar Midrashim is, this feeling is a feeling that this is a bad situation or a bad person or a dangerous person or like whatever. Like that's the clash laden within this music. Wow, cool chant. Ah! Ah! That goes up. Ah! That's fun. It goes up. Ah! That's so cool. Don't you find that heroic? Ya ta 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 po. Like it actually sounds like something else. Ba 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 da 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 da. Ba. What is that? What doesn't matter. Point is that there's a little bit of heroics in that, despite the fact of the like sort of uncomfortable or brutal nature of that. There is a bit of movement in there. God, I'm really, it's gonna bother me. Ba 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 da 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 da. That's something else. It's another video game song. But point is, I mean, melodic borrowing like that, whether it's intentional or not, it tends to happen. But what I find really cool about that in this particular context, or the context of the music anyway, is the sense that we feel like a heroicism, a moment of reverie from that constant use of rhythm and sort of the back and forth that creates. There's a sense of natural tension that gets eased when we have that ascending scale and that feeling of heroicism that comes into play there, because it feels very like, oh, there's a chance of being able to win this, you know what I mean? Whatever it is, whether it's a battle or but it's short-lived. Terrific percussion. I love this choral use here. It's crazy. so high. Ah! Ah! I mean, there's a terrific tension pretty much throughout that entire piece, and there's a sense of brutality in that piece as well. And it does feel like, you know, especially when we think about the legacy of Cain and wraiths and vampires and you know, all the different things that are at play, there's a certain unholiness that you hear in that music, but there's also a sense of personal justice or vindication in that sound, especially with that, the back half of that. The first half really feels like you just don't want to mess with whatever the circumstance or the person is. Like there's a heavy laden feeling of like death and danger in that. And I think, like, you know, Raziel is one of these iconic characters, and the feeling that Raziel, like a true like anti-hero in a way. And I remember playing, you know, Blood Omen and how vicious Cain can be as well. So I feel like both of those characters feel like they're sort of existing within this piece, or it's just about one or the other. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But you know, if you want to check out the Legacy of Cain for yourself, like the Legacy of Cain Soul Reaver, definitely check that out over on Steam, or really, I think pretty much every platform now. It's definitely a classic that there's a reason why it has a cult following, that people like love it still. Okay. We are cruising. Oh, thanks, Volk Rodia. I appreciate that. Cool. I'm looking forward to seeing what it is and hearing it. Thank you. Definitely feel free to join that Discord too. There's a Discord portion that you can be a part of. We have a nice Discord there for that. Okay. Does that link work now? I need to update the one and man, you know, lately I don't really get imposter syndrome as much as I used to, but man, sometimes I feel like I'm like speaking and the shit that I'm saying is like just like, what are you even saying? Like I know it's fine, but it's just like funny how sometimes the brain just goes. The brain's like, you're like being super surface level or whatever, you know. Okay, and then a Terna Noctis. Oh, good. I'm glad. Yeah, I don't really get imposter syndrome as much as I used to, but sometimes I'll just be talking and I'm like, you're just pulling that shit out of your ass. It's like, well, maybe I am. All right, we'll see about this Child of Light. Hopefully it works. If it doesn't, then we'll just have to turn it into a short. You know, Juan, I don't know if you're still here, but I think this Scarlet Nexus song is just too long. 8 minutes is way too long. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and go with the main theme, the one that I've heard before. Is it this one? Hold on. Yeah. Yeah, that's gorgeous. I think that's such a good entry point for that game too. All right. It's a loop. Yeah, but I kind of want to do the piano piece. Good evening. The piano piece is so beautiful, and a lot of people haven't listened to it. I feel like it's a good. I feel like the piano piece is really nice. Just go with it. I'm driving the bus. I'm driving the car. We can listen to that on a live stream though. Just looking up the plot of I feel like whenever I hear the words underappreciated game, Child of Light inevitably comes up. And Child of Light was a platforming role-playing video game developed by Ubisoft Montreal and published by Ubisoft. It came out in April of 2014 and then subsequently on the Switch in 2018. And in truth, I don't know much about this game. I know that it's got gorgeous visual arts. It's got visual artistry. I know that it has really fun gameplay. I know that it's not incredibly long. And I know that the soundtrack is supposedly very good. The game's story takes place in a fictional land of Lemuria. This child wakes up after dying of a... This child wakes up after dying from a mysterious illness and is tasked with bringing back the sun, the moon, and the stars that are all being held captive by the Queen of the Night. Not to be confused with the opera character. That's an inside opera joke. In order to return home. I'm really curious to hear what this particular track sounds like. Jupiter's Lightning from Child of Light, certainly one of the more underappreciated games that's ever been released. Let's check it out. Nice harmony. I mean, there's a song that's just full of hope, isn't there? I mean, like, terrific use of brass, especially some gorgeous French horns in there, some terrific trumpet use as well. Also, a frenetically, well, frenetic is the wrong word, but a terrific main motif that kind of pops in out of nowhere. I mean, that is such a galvanizing piece that also has a warmth around it due to the instrumentation of the lower brass, and especially that French horn being the dominant sort of player in there. It really feels, especially with the rhythm, that there's a sense of driving forward in that, and it's just an incredibly satisfying sound of possibility, of saying, like, you know what, no, I can really conquer this, I can really sustain this, I can overtake this adversary, I can do this. And I love pieces like that, and I also like that there's a degree of sensitivity in that sound as well. It doesn't beat you over the head with that feeling of like motivation. It's very much like, okay, all right, there's a journey of boosting oneself and saying, okay, I may not be scared, or I may be scared today. There's a feeling of saying I may be scared today, but tomorrow I'm going to rise up and I'm going to do this. That I felt really sustained the piece, and it was delightful. I mean, it has a lot of really, really fun melodic and rhythmic ideas that I think really set it up for. It's just a worthwhile piece, and it actually makes me want to play Child of Light more. Now, granted, do I have the time to do that? Not necessarily, but if you're looking for a game with a soundtrack like this, which is going to galvanize you, make you feel empowered, I mean, that's like a no-brainer to me. And as far as like, even compared to everything we've heard today, I feel like that's the piece that has had the most like warmth and heart to it, and it was really nice. It's hard to deny how nice that is. Yeah. What's up? You've watched my Elden Ring videos and I absolutely love how you analyze and appreciate music. Oh, thank you. Hola. Hola. Hola, Mexico. Yeah, that was a really nice piece. I really like that Child of Light piece. All right, next up is Scarlet Nexus. It's 3 a.m. Well, why don't you just go to sleep now for 3 hours, and then at 6 a.m. when it's time for, when it's 3 a.m. Or 6 a.m. that you'll be ready to go for the live stream, because I'm going to do that probably closer to 2:30 or 3 o'clock, and there's like at least 4 hours of it, so at least. So I mean, even if you miss the first 15 songs, you'll be able to sleep. No reason to stay up now. I'm not even going to bother trying to explain the plot of Scarlet Nexus. Scarlet Nexus is a game that I have tried. I've started. I've played the demo. I played the opening. In truth, I have no idea what the hell is going on. I know that you have two protagonists. I know that you play as both of them or either of them. I'm not entirely sure how that works. But it's a gorgeous anime style game with your typical action combat with magic and all this other stuff. I mean, it's a game. It's funny. It's a game that I feel people talk about, but many people have not played. And it did generally get positive reviews, and it did sell 1 million units by April of 2022, even though it released on June 25th of 2021. I've heard a little bit of the music, and one particular theme that I really like is the Scarlet Nexus theme. Scarlet Nexus, I think it's the main theme. In fact, it's a glorious piano piece that I am really excited to share with you, actually. Oof. That's glorious. I mean, jeez. Wow. I mean, what an incredible transition, right? I mean, first of all, like I'm taking piano lessons right now, and just the idea of sitting down and being able to play this on the piano is just like so exciting. I would love to like sit down with this. But what I really want to highlight, not to stop excessively, but one of the things that's really, really incredibly satisfying to me about this particular piece is how emotionally charged it is. But it's a deceptive emotional charge, because when it starts like this. Yeah, so fine, rolled chords in the upper register, obviously going to tug at the heartstring. Almost sounds like Zelda's Lullaby. But then, notice that motion right there. Like you expect that to go somewhere. But instead what it ends up doing is this. You think it's going to thrust into something. A nice resolution, pull back, sustain, and then open space and sad piano. And it feels laden with possibility, but like with an inability to actually act on any of those possibilities. Like the way that it goes up, ba da 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 da, whatever. Like there's a quality in that of like, man, we're never going to be able to achieve half the things we hoped we would. Now it does take place in a post-apocalyptic setting, and monsters are falling from the sky. So naturally, what's good about that? Probably nothing. However, you would expect like there to be a little bit of hope in that sound, and there just isn't. Maybe it'll come later. What a gorgeous piece. As it goes higher, there's a little bit of hope in that. Rolled chords there. That cello's really heavy laden, but there is rhythmic propulsion in the underneath it. But that cello's really front and center, isn't it? Oh, gorgeous viola there. Yeah. Oh. And maybe violin, actually. Goes up. Yeah. Wow. Love that short stuff. Shut that down. Shut that down. But gotta have a guitar, of course. Wow. That upper register piano tugging at the heartstrings at the very top range. Lots of open space and air up there. Resolution. Nice lower chord there. I mean, it really ends up being like sad jazz. There is a bit of possibility there, isn't there? There is a bit of hope in that back half where it's like, maybe, just maybe, something good may come of this travesty, right? This destruction, this world that we live in. It's a glorious piece of music, isn't it? And that's one of these pieces that like really, really, I think you play that for somebody and you say, look how beautiful video game music can be. Look how good this music is. And I think that they would be hard-pressed to deny it. Scarlet Nexus. There you go. Now, I don't know what the rest of the soundtrack sounds like, but apparently it's all sorts of different genres, and none of it really necessarily sounds like this. But it would be interesting to explore this game's music, and if you liked this Scarlet Nexus theme, you might very well like the rest of the soundtrack. So if you want to check it out, you definitely should. Next up is Eterna Noctis. Eterna Noctis, not to be confused with anything related to Final Fantasy 15 and Noctis the Prince, is a series, is a story of a pair of monarchs who are apparently cursed with immortality. They've been fighting and killing each other for an eternity. And then somehow a magical revelation happens, and suddenly a chain of events occurs that helps them find a way to break their cycle and apparently find love in the process. I've never heard of this game. I have no idea what's going on here. Let's check out The Doomed Knight from Eterna Noctis. Nice. I mean, yeah, certainly that may not have been the best example, but one of the things that I would say about that particular piece, even though it wasn't necessarily my favorite of today's listenings, is the fact that that is not the type of sound that I would expect from a game called Eterna Noctis, and based on the premise of the plot that I just read, or also the sound of The Doomed Knight. It's interesting how it can still, with the drum set and the electric guitar, which the electric guitar especially is such a melodic, vocal forward instrument. I think it's really cool how essentially we still get like a classical Baroque soundscape. Obviously this must be some boss that you fight in the game, and I literally just picked a song at random, but I have to say that, like, it actually intrigues me to see what actually this game even looks like, or what this game is even about. And I think the story premise itself is kind of interesting as well. I definitely think that having a simple melodic pattern that repeats over and over and over is also insanely helpful to not only getting in your ear and getting that sort of earworm quality, but also to continually highlight that sense of stress, or whatever the intention of that motivic writing is. I mean, we see this even all the way back in the Super Nintendo era and beyond. The idea of simple melody, whether because that was what they could do, or because melody just works, melody is always going to be important when it comes to making sure that we connect with an experience in the game. And I certainly think that while it may not be the most complex, mind-blowing thing on earth, the Doomed Knight from Eterna Noctis certainly does a good job of sending home the idea of a battle being desperate and ingraining itself into our brains. So, I mean, yeah, if you want to check that out, you certainly should, I think it's on Steam. And it's been interesting. I feel like underrated games, there's so many games that are out there, or have been out there, that people may know, may not know. Maybe it's fallen off their radar. Maybe they was never on their radar to begin with. But there are so many games that come out that I feel get lost by the wayside. And it's important to highlight them. And hopefully this video and these 5 pieces has maybe exposed you to something you didn't even know was out there. Or maybe you knew was out there, but you didn't really take any time to listen to it. And now you can. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Definitely let me know what other tracks or games or whatever we should listen to. There's a community post that's been going around that you can definitely fill out continually. We're going to be updating that all the time. Continue to expose people to wonderful underrated games and underrated songs. Thanks a ton, and I'll see you later. Bye. Sweet. All right. That was fun. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that video. I like being able to talk about underrated stuff. Hopefully you enjoyed it too, because after all, it's for me, but it's also for you. All right, now we're switching over to Zelda. And I have my list right here. Okay, so we're going to do Fairy Mountain, Dungeon Theme, A Link to the Past, The Dark World, Tall Tall Heights, Hyrule Field, Kakariko Village, Clock Town, Day 1, Day 2, Day 3, and Final Hours. Wind Waker, Dragon Roost Island, Hyrule Field, Midna's Lament, Realm Overworld, excuse me. Let me grab these tracks. Boop. Brum 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 pop 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 pop. Tall Tall Heights. Oh yeah, Hyrule Field. Yeah, I've heard some of these. I've heard. Kakariko, Clock Tower. Okay. Dragon Roost Island. Twilight Princess, Hyrule Field. Midna's Lament. Spirit Tracks, Realm Overworld. Nice, that sounds fun. Colgera's on another video. Hey, Chavili, what's up? No, Itima, this is a separate... it's a separate video. This is the second video I'm filming today. No, I don't think Zelda is considered underrated by any stretch of the imagination. All right. Filming. Oh, I can't. Okay. I gotta be honest with you. Of all the IPs that I have played in my life, Zelda has really not been one of them. I have played all of Oracle of Seasons. I think that's it. I mean, I've started Ocarina of Time. I watched my cousins play Ocarina of Time. I played all of Breath of the Wild, but like just stopped before Ganon's or Hyrule Cast, whatever you call it. I gotta admit, no, it's not true. Well, this is a terrible intro. Don't do this. Let's see. I gotta say, of all the IPs that I have not played, Zelda is the one that kind of surprises me the most because I feel like I should have had played more Zelda. It's too slow. I gotta say, of all the Zelda, no. I gotta say, of all the IPs that I haven't listened to music from, Zelda's the one that surprises me personally the most because I feel like it's the one that I would like the most. However, I have to admit that I've only played basically 2 Zelda games from start to finish. Zelda Oracle of Seasons and Zelda, Link's Awakening. Sorry, my brain just like totally had a brain fart there. There's too many Zelda games. So today we're going to be doing a crash course. I'm going to be crashing through a bunch of Zelda tracks. Some I'll probably know and some I've never heard before. I'm going to let the tracks play out, and then after each track I'm going to talk about it and yeah, see where we land. Here we go. First up is the Great Fairy Mountain from Zelda Ocarina of Time. I definitely have heard this, but for the sake of being thorough, let's dive into it. Oh, of course, yeah. Nice counter harmony. I like the upright bass in there too. Boom, boom. I mean, really, one of the most incredible things about that piece is how many different layers of instruments there are and how they each come in when they come in and how they support that main sort of upper register harp portion of that. Like there's the upright bass, there's the second lower voiced harp, there's the accent that happens at certain parts of it. And I think ultimately what I find really cool about the Great Fairy's Fountain, and I know that many of you know this theme incredibly well, and there are people on YouTube itself who have analyzed the absolute crap out of that piece. But what I think more than anything, to me, from the perspective of an opera singer, is the fact of the safety within that sound. The arpeggiation in there and the ostinato, like there's a real quality of peace and like protection and a feeling of comfort. And I think that that's the thing that really stands out to me the most. There's a stillness in that movement that really helps it feel like an embrace or a hug or a sense of respite that we don't often get in other games, you know. And it's funny because even if you think of Resident Evil, like let's think of like the save room themes. Those themes are not comforting, right? It's a similar sensation though. It's a similar safe space. And yet this is one of the safe space sounds that feels most actually safe. And I find it kind of a fascinating piece of music because it almost feels like a warm hug, like whether it's from a sibling or a loved one or what have you, a friend. Like there's protection in that sound, and part of that is because of that gorgeous harp. And then again, I mean, I just love that the upright bass really supports it, and kind of you had that sustained pedal tone, just keeping the whole thing afloat. It's a gorgeous piece, isn't it? What's up, Nate? All right. Now, I for sure have never played Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. This is Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link dungeon theme. I mean, maybe I've heard this before because it's like in the lexicon of Zelda. Well, let's listen. Oh, clapping. I've never heard this. Oh, wait. Just a little bit of tension. Dum, dum. I love the space. There's the... Whoa! And there's home. That's cool. Shadam dum da dum 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 da dum dum da dum. Yeah, I mean, fascinatingly enough, what's cool about this piece is the fact that we have these markers. I find that really fun, where that's like the center of each section. Ta da dan chan da dong. Shadam dum dum da dum. And what's cool about that, motivically to me and melodically, that really is a feeling of mystery. Now, a dungeon theme, so obviously that's a moment of exploration. It's dark, it's dank. I love that word, by the way, dank. It's a dank cave. Is that the right way to use it? I don't know. I just wanted to say dank. There's a feeling of it's damp, that there's, you don't know where you're going to turn, even though obviously like it sort of, I mean, and how many different roguelikes have been made based around like Zelda dungeons. I mean, like countless of them at this point, where you never know what's going to happen the next door you go in. All these, anyway, all that to say, like, the feeling of that is mystery. The feeling of that is discovery. The feeling of that is like stress, even though the music still has a degree of like, I'm Link, I'm an adventurer, I can go from point A to point B, I have a sword, I have a shield, I can take care of this, right? So we don't lose sight of that. It's not like so oppressive that it makes us feel like we're going to die, but it does feel like, holy shit, I don't know what's in the next room, so I better be careful, right? And then you go into the room, and this is what you get. And like, well, that could be anything. It could be tentacles. It could be a monster. It could be a trap. It could be anything. It could even just be like a different room. And it's cool how that's how we create like a sense of scale within the NES sort of graphics and framing of the experience, right? And so the music does a great job of adding emphasis and adding tension to the storyline by doing this dungeon crawling aspect of it, that wouldn't otherwise necessarily be there if the music wasn't this or wasn't included, you know? So that's fun to me. I mean, like, that's cool. It's also super short. And so again, we're talking about earworms and getting locked in with something. I mean, I can sing it back to you. I've only heard this piece once. Like, that's the cool thing about melody at this time period in video game music. The melody was the thing. It's the thing that carries you as a player through the experience. And that cannot be understated, how important melody is to the history of Zelda. I mean, like the history of this particular franchise. Now, yeah, Mario's got it, Sonic's got it, Mega Man's got it. Yeah, of course. But with Zelda, there's always that degree of adventure at every turn. And I find that to be extremely cool. And like, I think the reason why it sustains itself and it's like remained a part of the lexicon, on top of being a good game, you know, it's not just nostalgia. It's cool. What's up, Fedora? I usually just watch the videos, but the streams are fun to hear how you find these explanations. I would never know how you experiment with your words and sentences. Thank you. Yeah. It's a lot of experimenting, and then my editor kind of comes in and just like, that's why I pay him the big bucks, because he makes me not look like an idiot. Next up is The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. I don't think I've ever played this one either. No, I don't think I have. Dark World. Let's check it out. Oh man, Listen to the trombones back there. Oh! Da, ba, ba, da, da. Whoa. Da-da-da-da. The descending scale, the descending repeated notes. And then there's the loop. Don't you find that interesting? I'm going to talk during the loop, but don't you find that interesting? But don't you feel how the rhythm of that piece, now, yes, it's strings, but do you notice how like there's an emphasis? It's almost like when you emphasize syllables, right? It's the same thing with music. We're putting tenuti over that, and tenuto is just like, it's literally like a triangle that goes over the note, and it's meant to be like struck. It's not yada yada yada, or well, in tempo ya 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 ya. Do you feel how that like loses some of the impetus versus pa pa ya da da pa da da ram pa 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 da da? Don't you notice that has way more gusto to it? And also I think it hits home this idea of like, you know, action, adventure, taking charge, stepping into action, committing oneself to a task, like pa 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 da da ra pa 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 da da. Way more gumption. And again, I think across the board, the thing that really needs to be highlighted is the fact that adventure, you know, yes, saving Zelda, all that stuff, but like fighting Ganon, but adventure is at the crux of every Zelda game experience, right? It's the journey, maybe also the destination, but predominantly it's the journey from point A to point B. It's the stuff in between. Now, I'm not talking like in an open world sense, although we obviously get that with Breath of the Wild and Twilight Princess. But what I mean is like going there and doing the thing. That's the part that's important. You know, and I think that musically, that really does a great job of sending that idea home. Like, you got to go on that adventure. You got to get up. And there's an impetus emotionally of movement to that, you know. Oh, I'm breaking into a sweat by how emphatic I am. And then, isn't that cool? Like the counter melody. Listen to this. Listen to this second. And that's the key about active listening. And I'm going to go on my active listening spiel. I do this basically in every single video. But active listening is not just listening to the melody line and not just thinking about how it feels, but to actually then be like, oh, do you hear how the bass is doing this? Do you hear how the second violin is adding to the first violin? Isn't it cool how the harmony increases the feeling of like adventure and enthusiasm that the like main melody has? Without the second harmony, this would just be a boring, repetitive piece. And instead what we end up with is like a feeling of like, oh yeah, that harmony is actually like highlighting the importance of that adventure. Don't you see? Like, I hope that's clear. Like, that's your job. If you want it, right? I mean, technically it's my job, but it's your job to also, when you're sitting back and listening to stuff, if you really want to deep dive into it, I'm not saying you need to know the chord structures. I mean, I think the chords are important and fun to know, but ultimately that's the mathematical aspects of music. We also need to connect the mathematical to the emotional. And music is one of these things where, you know, not to go on too long of a rant, but fuck it, you're here. You know, emotion is the driving force. Good composition, very important. The mathematical aspects of quarter notes and half notes and chord structure, very important. Combine the two, that's music. And that's the part that's really exciting. What a great piece. And again, the dark world. So it's like a bleak space. And we're still trudging through it, trying to get to the other side, trying to conquer Ganon, trying to save Zelda, trying to save the planet. And what a dope piece. Let me take a break. This is fun. You having a good time? I'm having such a good time right now. Thank you to you lurkers. I saw some folks said they were off to work. Thanks for hanging out. I too am working. I enjoy working. Okay. A Link to the Past. That was on Super Nintendo, right? Must be. Yeah, must be. No. So this is a thing. I wish they would sponsor me. This is called Olipop. It's a healthy soda. Plant-powered, microbiome approved. Hey, Scorpion, what's up? This has cassava root fiber, chicory root, inulin, Jerusalem artichoke, Nepal cactus, marshmallow root, calendula flower, kudzu root, allulose syrup, cassava root syrup, prune juice, plum juice, tart cherry juice, natural spice flavor, natural fruit flavor, lemon juice, stevia leaf. I drink like 2 of these a day. Green tea, caffeine. I feel like someday something was going to come out and be like, stevia causes cancer. And I'm going to be like, fuck, I just drank 2 of those for 2 years straight. Is it sweet? So it's got 3 grams of sugar. Which is why I like them, because they're essentially soda, but it's like 3 grams of sugar. So this tastes, Dr. Goodwin tastes like Dr. Pepper. They don't ship, and I doubt it. Okay, I'm just taking a mental break, just really quickly. Man, I've been cruising. This has been fast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, okay. So this is 11 tracks. Okay, cool. You tried an Olipop? The vintage cola is kind of weird, but good. It's because it's flat, right? It tastes like flat soda. See, I love flat soda. I'm fucking weird, dude. Like, flat soda compared to La Croix or San Pellegrino, I wouldn't compare them. I think La Croix is a better flavor, and it's less. Olipop is less bubbly than both of those. I'm a sparkling water snob. If there's one thing that I'm a snob about, it's not so much music, but it's definitely sparkling water. The amount of sparkling water that I've tried in my years. La Croix, do you call it LaCroix? I call it La Croix. La Croix. Le sparkling water de La Croix. You hate fizzy drinks? It's because you don't want to fart. That's why. Fizzy drinks are good for farts, though. Do I have a favorite chord on the piano? Yours is C major. Nothing wrong with a C major chord. I like 5 because 5 resolves to 1. 5 resolves to 1. And it's such a cool feeling to have this sound. Here's your C major. I just love this. See? Tito, Tito, Tito. What a great sound, you know? I got IBS. Been there. IBD. Okay. Anyway, Nathan, don't include any of that in the Zelda video. Thank you. Uh, talking about farts and stuff. Next up is Tall Tall Heights from The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. Now, this is the Game Boy version, so I have heard this because I played the Switch remaster. So I don't know if I remember it, though. I'm sure I will when I hear it. God, I love that theme so much. Oh, I love a variation. It's like a variation on a theme. Wow. I love how crazy the left hand is going. A little bit of samba in there. Oh, key change. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I love the warmer part here. I love the trill. Oh man, that's cool. This must be a reset. Ding. No, it's not. No, it is. No, it's not. Man, that lower register. Wow. Ba 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 dum. I could listen to it all day. Like, that's 3 minutes. That was like the shortest 3 minutes of my life. Like, I could literally sit down and listen to that all day. Like, ever so slight variations like that are divine, I think. And I think the reason why is because, you know, we all know, but then when you take it and go, that is a different emotional emphasis, isn't it? That's a different emotional emphasis. Shifting it up, shifting it down. Those are all different emotional emphasis. Emphasis. It's different emotional emphasis. And this is the thing that's so, I mean, like, I don't need to go into great detail about that piece. Like, yeah, it's adventure. It's spirited. There's a couple little cool things where the samba kicks in. And then also the way that we're going. But again, the cool thing about music is that each individual component of a piece has different emotional stakes depending on where it is in the register. And I find that incredibly fascinating because whether it's a lower version, a higher version, a slightly different melody, the way, you know, the way that the bass is emphasizing certain things, the way that the harmony plays into it, like all of that within a given piece changes the emphasis emotionally. And ultimately that is so interesting to me. And man, did I love that piece. I'd almost want to well, no, we can't do it this episode, but I almost want to go and listen to the Link's Awakening remake version, because I would love to hear how they shifted that piece. Because even on the Game Boy, like, that just sounds so good. It's like so enthusiastic, man. It's just awesome. Hyrule Field for The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. I think I've heard this one as well, but I can't remember. That's such a similar... Bum, ba, ba, ba. But there too, don't you hear the punch? First of all, I like how it's ever so slightly. You think it's gonna go bum ba 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 da ba da ba ba da ba 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 ba, kind of like Tall Heights. But here, it's interesting how we're getting the hit. Isn't that cool? Listen to this. Bum 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 ba. Right there. Bum 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 ba ba. Wake up, bitch. It's Hyrule Field. You know what I mean? It's almost like Hyrule Field saying, come on, bring on the adventure. And again, all of these themes kind of bring on adventure. So in a way, emotionally, it almost feels a little one note in a way. Not one note in like one note being played, but one note in the fact that like all of it stems for like a feeling of pursuit of adventure. Also, something that's really worth noting is how emphatically melodic these pieces have been. All of these pieces have had such a degree of melody. And admittedly, wasn't that a big complaint of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom? That like they were kind of a little bit too ambient except for key moments. But honestly, like with a space that big, doesn't the ambiance fill it out better than just having incessant melody over and over and over? It's a really interesting discussion that we can definitely get into. I'd love to know what your thoughts are in the comments, but for me, it's like, I may not love Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom soundtracks as much because they're sort of like loose and kind of play at certain key moments, but like, you know, it's interesting how the history of Zelda's music, how melodically emphatic it is. It's the same notes. You think it's going to go up and do the Zelda theme. Wonderful harmony there. Bum, ba, 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 ba. Ah, that's interesting. Going down like that is... And then it resets. And here's the peacefulness of the fields. Bright green Hyrule Fields. That's playful. Maybe you're throwing a chicken. It's very brief, though. Oh, it is a spin on the motif. Oh, that's really nice. And then you see Zelda's castle in the distance, and that's where we get the brass. Bum, ba, ba. Oh, there it is. Danger. Wow. What a heavy track. I didn't expect this. This is actually dangerous. Brah, 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 brah. And that's like wiping your brow and being like, oh, that was rough. Heralding victory. Dun, dun. dum, dum. There's regality in that sound. Again, heralding something. Wow, big low brass there. I love how bright that is. Oh, the harp is a nice touch. That's pretty. It's like the morning dew. Ah, yeah. Nice pits there. Pizzicato. Not armpits. The English horn. Nice resolution. What a nice spin on that theme, man. I love the brightness back. Yeah, I mean, wow. So obviously, this is clearly a dynamic piece that this plays. This is the full track kind of laid out. But obviously, certain sections play at certain moments. That makes sense. I mean, I think what's amazing about it is that it retains the sort of motivic idea, regardless of what's happening. Whether it's the morning dew, whether it's the combat, whether it's the rolling fields, whether it's the chickens, whether it's Epona's ranch or the horse ranch, whether it's this, that, or the other, whether there's, whether you see Zelda's castle, whether the bridge, the drawbridge drops down and you enter it, like there's something here for every emotional context. And I think that's the part that really stands out to me. And what's also really cool about this is the fact that we basically, like the previous track, we still find a way to connect this feeling of adventure with a bunch of different emotions here. It's actually like really advanced, and it's cool because you essentially bum ba 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 da. Or no, that's the previous song. Point is that we have the same leaps and steps, but it pivots, and so you still, because you know that song, the earworm of that song, that motif, we are able to layer it in different ways. So it's almost like it feels like you're like, yes, it's gonna give it to me, and then it does something else, and you're like, oh, I'm on a field. Okay, never mind. And I think that's really fun. It's fun to play with that motivic idea and delay the expectation and deny the expectation altogether, so that the sound is like, yeah, oh, wow, okay, yeah, I'll go along with that. You know what I mean? So you like bring something new and then replace it with something else. And I find that really fun. Cool piece. I don't think I'd ever heard that from start to finish. All right, this is Kakariko, not Kaka, Kakariko Village, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. Again, Kakariko Village. I never heard this before. Oh, it's this like country, like, yeah. There's the harmonica. It's like sleepy almost. I love the undulating arpeggiation there. Da da ya do 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 do. Doubling with the ocarina and the harmonica, as if to say everyone's together. I think the upper xylophone, the upper registers, really warms it out a bit. There's the harmony. That's beautiful. It's like sitting around a fire. playing a song with your friend. Ba 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 ba. Oh! Goes up to the upper neighbor and then resolves down. Yada, yada, yada. I mean, I gotta say, like, the thing about that's so interesting to me is that it's actually not that dissimilar to the fairy theme, where it that slow, peaceful, inviting. Obviously not nearly as mysterious, but there is a sense of like comfort in that sound, a sense of peace, a sense of like, gathering, a sense of like being looked after, tended for. There's a warmth in that sound, of course, the delightful harmony there between the harmonica and what I would assume would be Link playing the ocarina. Like there's that sense of real balance there that is just so peaceful. And I mean, a sense of like, hey, come rest your I don't know why my brain went, come rest your yams. Come rest your loins. No, that's not better. Come rest your weary self, and like come relax and like be here now. Don't think about all that other stuff that you have to do. Like take a load off of the responsibility. You know what I mean? Just like take it easy. And that's the sort of present theme, especially with the arpeggiation, with the guitar. Boom, bum, 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 ba, 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 ba. And on top of that, I would say like one of the biggest and best things about this particular soundtrack, Zelda's soundtrack in general, is the singability. Obviously, we have that much less so in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, but the singability is the thing that kind of like latches itself onto you. It's really great. So here's Majora's Mask. Now this is a game I will never play. I don't really like this kind of mechanic where like things go south and you kind of need to just like, I don't know, reset when things go badly. It's like my least favorite kind of mechanic. Maybe it's not that bad, but I know it's like the first iteration of this, and I know that at the time it came out, it was like a big deal, and it's also like one of the darker Zeldas, along I think with Twilight Princess. But so this is Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask, Clock Town Day 1, Day 2, Day 3, and Final Hours. Let's listen. Oh, that's very inviting. This feels like an overture. Oh. Oh, whoa. That was not what I thought. Very like medieval dance. People are working. But they're not like unhappy to work. Oh, I like that. Classical movement there, just descending down like that. Biaram, biaram, biaram. Feels like dancing around the maypole, kind of. Okay, so that was Clocktown Day Theme 1. Here's Day Theme 2. More arpeggiation. Faster. Interesting, okay. Dum, bum, 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 bum. With the ocarina. That's funny. This feels like early morning, and that sounds like a chicken cooing. So a Link is talking to the chicken right now. It's like the fiddle sound, yeah. It's just call and response. Nice harmony there. It's sleepy. You know? Has a sleepy quality to it. The ocarina sound is really nice, though. Again, pay attention to that counter harmony there. Cool. All right, day 3 now. Whoa. Obviously danger there. And that's just tons of dissonance. Bo, bo, bo. You know, it's funny. So obviously we have like holy shit, we gotta get this done. Oh my god, what the fuck? The moon is coming towards us. It's looking me right in the face. But what's really interesting is the fact that the moon is terrifying, and the reason why it's terrifying is because those notes in the lower register are out of the chord structure. So bo, 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 like the dissonance at play there really. It's just dissonance. Like, it's just dissonance. Like, but the dissonance is what causes the feeling of stress. It's so simple in its delivery, but it's so incredibly effective at actually causing a sense of discomfort and stress, which I think is really cool. I mean, we're not talking anything crazy. We're just like literally shifting the step in the lower register from, you know, tonic to the fifth, or, you know, then, but we're adding like some black keys in there. We're adding some dissonance, whether it's augmented or diminished, and that's the feeling of stress, and that's where that comes from. And obviously, this pickup in tempo is like panic and what have you. Yeah, that's just playing with dissonance. Augmented and diminished chords, basically. The chords that are out of the key. Like, it feels like you're playing the wrong notes. That's right. That's wrong. Wrong. Okay, now I want to hear Final Hours. It's gotta be terrible. Whoa. I didn't expect the disturbing placidity. Whoa. Oh, it's a dirge. It's a mournful piece. I like how the harpsichord tries to pop back in for that spinning thing it did in the previous tracks, but it just can't. Nice resolution there. And the harpsichord, there's a ghastliness in this, isn't there? These random sound effects to symbolize the... Wow. I absolutely love the harpsichord accent. What a random accent. And the shimmering moon as it, like, I don't know if the actual moon does this, because I've only seen like pictures of the gameplay. I don't think I've ever actually watched like any individual play Majora's Mask, but like it feels like there's like the ozone layer, or like the protective layer of the moon, kind of as it gets closer and closer, like, and it's almost like everyone's looking up at this thing like, oh god, like this is it, like we've got nothing left, and the harpsichord is like, no, remember the good old days, and then you know what I mean? Like it's death. It's like looking death in the face and being like, this is it, we've lost everything. Holy crap, this is not going to end well. You know what I mean? It's actually like shockingly powerful. It's really cool to see how, again, the programmatic idea of like each day symbolizing something different, and symbolizing fear and terror and joy and workmanship. And it's cool how, I just shoved my finger in my mouth. It's cool how these themes each indicate something very specific. So even without actual visual context, the musical context is driving that plot point forward. That's incredibly cool. Wow, cool. Dragon Roost Island. So Wind Waker is probably the only Zelda game that I'm obsessed with playing that I've never played. Wind Waker is the one game that I'm like, damn, slipped through my fingers. If there is one Zelda game I ever want to play in my entire life, it's Wind Waker. I don't know why I have this mystique about Wind Waker. Like I look at it from afar and I'm like, I really want to play you. And I just haven't been able to yet. But yeah, so this is Dragon Roost Island from the Wind Waker. That's fun. It feels islandy, of course. Oh, I heard this on a Patreon live stream. Dum 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 dum. Absolutely love the bass there. Dum 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 dum. I love the percussion that casts the nets. The pan flute. Bum ba bum 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 ba bum 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 ba bum bum ba da da. Nice sustaining there, sustaining the same bum ba bum 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 bum. I'm glad that repeats. What an inviting track. I mean, there's, you know what's funny is that there's ever so slightly a degree of melancholy in that. Like there's like just like the twinge of sadness, and like whatever's occurred on Dragon Roost Island, like it's like not everything is just joyful, even though that's a track that moves relatively quickly, has a pretty decent rhythm, a pretty decent tempo. There's an air of like, man, we've seen some stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's funny. But that being said, like the movement of that is just delightful. It has a welcoming, like, hey, come on in. Like this is a safe place for you. You know what I mean? Like Yeah, again, Wind Waker has this mystique. I mean, what a gorgeous piece. I would love to sit down and just listen to more of Wind Waker. And realistically, I'd rather just play it and then listen to the music at the same time. Like, there's a warmth about Wind Waker's art style, all of it. Like, it sort of feels timeless, and it's definitely like the Zelda that I think I most want to experience in my lifetime, if possible. And hopefully someday we get a remake, or I'll just find a method to play it, because it just seems just delightful. Let's check out another Hyrule Field. This one is from Twilight Princess. This is the one on the Wii with the dog, right? I watched a friend play this. It seems so stupid. Not the game, but controlling Midna and Zelda and the dog with the nunchucks. Ugh, no thank you. But let's check it out. The oboe's cool. Oh, cool. Clarinet. I love the woodiness of the clarinet. Obviously the percussion. See, this is like so sneaky, so I don't know if we're going to get into it here, but so obviously Hyrule Field, once again, it already sounds drastically different, and yet then they say, surprise, bitch, here's the motif, you know. You know what I mean? Like that in and of itself right away, that triggers that, like, hey, this is Hyrule Field. You've probably been here before. Here's the motif. You know what I mean? It's a nice little callback, very Wagnerian of Zelda to do. Yeah. Little call and response there with the strings and the clarinet. Isn't it funny too that the bassoon always gets the shaft? Bassoon always is like, I'm a goofy instrument, you know, I'm really good. People have to spend all day carving reeds for me. Like, but it still ends up always sounding goofy. Nice harmony. Little accent there with the strings. I love the percussion. Percussion has a sense of forward momentum, of going somewhere, of doing something. There's tension. It's interesting how the drum, and there's this bass, but the drum is the dominant force here. A lot more danger in this particular sound, though, isn't there? Dum 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 dum. Bum 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 bum. This pulls back. It's so interesting how this pulls back, and it like gives way to potentially something. The trumpet call and response. Love the flute and clarinet harmony there. Yeah, and the snare drum is constant. It does feel like galloping of a horse, doesn't it? Da-dum, da-dum. Oh, there it is. That's nice. Yeah, you know, in truth, that's really interesting. Like with harmony and with sort of call and response and the constant presence of the snare, I'd say that it lacks a little bit of character based on, I don't know how sacrilegious it is to say that, sorry, but like compared to the Ocarina of Time, I mean, obviously it's not the same circumstances, so it makes sense. Like contextually, I totally get why it sounds the way it sounds. I mean, without knowing the context, but knowing that this is a much more serious adult moment or I guess Midna's riding the wolf, so maybe this is like thousands of years in the past or something. I don't know, so some sort of different. I don't even know what a Twilight Princess is, but all that to say, the Hyrule Field one felt more. I like the bright quality of that Hyrule Field version of the Ocarina of Time version. I also like the sense of adventure in it. This one feels very like marched and very like with intention, very specific. And the darker shades of sound kind of make it feel a little bit more generic to me. I really prefer Ocarina of Time's version, and I don't know why that is just yet, because I mean this is like first listening. But I like the brightness of the strings in the Hyrule Field version. This one just has a heft to it that I mean I do like the call and response to the Zelda theme and like that sort of motivic writing. It does those things incredibly well, but yeah, it doesn't land for me as much, and maybe that's just because I don't know the context. So yeah, it's cool. Link is the wolf? What the fuck? Okay. So speaking of Midna, let's check out Midna's Lament, which I do believe I've heard this before. You know, interestingly, the constant undulating of the arpeggiation and the asana, it's pretty interesting to have that be dominant, because usually, I mean, there is a melody in there, whatever, like that melody is in there, but the ostinato or arpeggiation is the thing. I'm sorry, I'm like mixing those two up right now, so I'm saying both just for the sake of it's one of those two. That quality, that's anguish. There's obviously, it's called Midna's Lament, so of course like she's lamenting, but there is the repetitive motion in that is where we end up with feeling like there's nowhere else to turn. It doesn't move. It doesn't go in a different direction. It doesn't really change. It's just constant. And that really is like, well, I'm backed against the wall. What can I possibly do? I have no other option. Like, I sit here before you, you know, broken, bruised, and there's nothing I can do. Maybe when the upper register comes in, it's like glimmers of hope or possibility. But in general, it really is just like, I have nothing else. You know, there's a real bleakness in that. But that's obvious, right? I mean, like, but it's amazing how the music kind of produces that by doing as little as possible while still having some melodic ideation, and by doing that arpeggiation and that ostinato playing, repeating pattern. You know, in my brain, I wasn't sure what to expect of Midna's Lament, and I was sort of mentally comparing it to Zelda's Lullaby, a much superior song based on my limited experience with Zelda's music. Zelda's Lullaby is like peak Zelda, like emotion through music to me, and using melody as the emotional, like, sort of gut punch. Whereas I felt like this one kind of meandered a little bit too much, so I felt like I didn't really grasp. Like, yes, it was sad, and you do get the sense of like loss in that, and inherently in that. But it doesn't hit as much as, I mean, again, I think this is a contextual issue, and we're listening to stuff in a vacuum, which is, you know, serving its own purpose. But I think if I was playing in context, I would definitely be more moved. But I think, like, if I compare this to, and you shouldn't compare music pieces, because it's like, well, that's like apples and oranges. But I do think like a piece like Zelda's Lullaby, which still has a degree of melancholy in it, is ultimately a more interesting piece to me than Midna's Lament. Again, I don't know how sacrilegious that is, but okay. And then we're going to check out The Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks. I don't know what the hell this is. This is a Realm Overworld. What? Wait. So hold on. Spirit Tracks. There's a picture of a train. So the constant movement is definitely the train on the locomotion. What the fuck is Spirit Tracks? I've never heard of this game, not ever in my entire life. And I feel like I have a pretty good sense of games, even if I don't play them. I have never ever heard of Spirit Tracks. I have no clue what this game is. But so clearly, right? I love the upper register. Love the upper register. Very tight harmony there. That's gorgeous. I mean, okay, hold on. Before we get ahead of ourselves, I need to see what the gameplay of this game. I need to know. Hold on. Is it literally? This is sacrilegious. Whose playthrough is this? How dare you speed through this section? Hold on. Let me find a better video.
Gary is. Game you'll sure wish it was. Yeah.
Okay.
I guess he's gonna tell words if you want to go in reverse.
Wait, I need no commentary. Here we go. Wait, you literally drive a train? What? Okay, hold on. You become a train driver? Where's the train driving? Oh, wow. So you make a... Okay, so you know how I said earlier that Wind Waker was the only Zelda game that I felt like I must play in my lifetime? Well, cancel that, because Zelda Spirit Tracks is 1,000,000,000% actually the priority now. Holy crap, like, again, I mean, like, just the sound of that is just delightful. And I think, like, it's like that idea of, like, the sense of discovery is full on in that. You know what I mean? Like first of all, like, what an inventive thing to do. Like, wow. I would take that over Breath of the Wild any day of the week. Second of all, just the fact that, like, we are in the open fields and getting this bright music of saying, like, hey, you're driving a train, motherfucker. Like, we're going over there. Make your route. Here we go. And no matter what gets in our way, we're going to be able to conquer it. Like, that is awesome. Like, that's so cool how the music becomes a companion for something like this. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, the spirit of adventure is here to get us. And I think, again, ultimately, that's the highlight of Zelda for me, is that there's a sense of, in every one of these tracks, more or less, there was a momentum and a feeling of, like, enthusiasm. You know, of like adventure, whether it's, you know, Ocarina of Time, Spirit Tracks, or everything in between. Like, there's a sense of, like, play and discovery and possibility for adventure that can't be denied. But, you know, there is one theme from Zelda that really, I don't know, leaves me with my heart, like a heart pang every time I listen to it. And it's, I think it's this one. Hold on, let me make sure. No, it's fuck, what's that one? What's that track, guys? Ba 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 da ba 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 da da ba 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 ba. Shit. That's da 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 da. That's what's his name's theme? Da 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 da. That's what's his name's theme? What's his name? Come on, it's Rivali theme. Thank you. Yeah. There is one theme though that even though I don't necessarily have personal attachment to the character at all, Rivali's theme from The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild is one of the most beautiful themes I think in video games personally. And even though it's not a reaction, I suppose I really wanted to share it and talk a little bit about it with you. You know, there's just something about it. I don't really remember Rivali as a character at all. I hate to say it. But one of the things that piece really makes me contemplate is just life itself, and the fact that we move at such a fast pace, and like there's a sense of like wanting to slow down in that piece, of like really contemplating existence and recognizing that like life is beautiful, and you know, we shouldn't take it for granted. And there's a gentility in that piece of like overcoming an obstacle and feeling like, you know, things are not so bad, and I'm really glad that things have landed the way they have, and so on and so forth. I feel an immense feeling of peace when I listen to that, and it really speaks to me on an emotional level that's really hard to describe, but there's such a softness in that. And I think ultimately Zelda's music is that it's emotional. It allows us to connect to things that it allows us to connect to music, and also to our own feelings of, you know, adventure, possibility, whether it's going to the gym or, you know, preparing a meal or hopping in a car or whatever. Like there's a sense of like, okay, what's the day going to bring? And there's that exuberance in that sound that can't be denied. Whereas like a piece like Rivali's theme is much more reflective and much more, you know, I don't know. It's incredibly pensive, and I love it. So there's a lot more Zelda that we need to listen to, of course, and frankly, I really just don't know enough. So stay tuned for definitely more episodes of listening to Zelda music for the first time, and then hopefully I can start to introduce non-gamers to Zelda music as well, and keep the tradition of celebrating this music for as long as possible. Thanks a ton, everybody, and I'll talk to you later. Bye. Okay, chat, what a good time. Man, we like speed ran those. I really enjoyed both of those videos. I'm really looking forward to getting those done and having them be produced in the next month or so. We've got quite a backlist right now of a bunch of stuff. In fact, I can tell you what's coming down the pike. There's so many things. Later today / tomorrow, there will be a 3-year anniversary video. Can't believe it's been 3 years of Marco Meatball. Pretty crazy. There will be a video out later today. Let's see what's coming down the pike. You're on the live stream, and if you're watching the VOD, this is what's coming down the pike. I don't mind sharing it. It's not like something secret. Looks like another episode of Pokemon. It looks like hellish stories from my experience in opera. That'll be comforting. Looks like fighting game music is being worked on. Weird game music is being worked on. There's still Kirby to come out. There's more video game music quizzes to come out. I don't know what these are actually. Minecraft video essays being edited. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff coming. So, yeah, really looking forward to this. Later today, we will be listening to some of the best tracks from the Fire Emblem series. So if you'd like to come and be a part of that, that will be happening in about an hour and a half. Definitely come hang out and listen to some of the greatest Fire Emblem tracks. I'll be doing some stopping and starting, some talking, so on and so forth. So look forward to that. And there's also some gacha game videos that will be coming out, a Minecraft video that will not be that video essay that's coming out. And yeah, I'm gonna go take a break and reset, and I will see everybody back at 2 o'clock. Have a great rest.